inside the flip. Scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports. It's the final countdown. We're doing it an hour early. It's because JSU wants to talk ball. He wants to talk for 2 straight hours about the Emirates Cup and dive in about the winner, right? We can talk about that a little bit because I do think it was interesting. I'm sure some of you basketball guys will appreciate it. I did appreciate it a little bit. JSU, I'm curious what your takeaways were from that. And, of course, we have a 3-game slate that we will break down with some injury news that we are waiting on, right? It's definitely like not a, it's only 3 games, but it's not like, the most quiet. So we've got the Embiid questionable. We're still waiting on that. Max Struss, questionable. Jovic, another big thing. But Embiid is the big one. And, of course, we got LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller out. So all of the Charlotte value. Also, we have the I guess this is like the short guy show, the Luigi and Mario NBA show, as because I guess you're Mario and I'm Luigi because of my last name. So there you go. But
I can fuck with that. I liked some Mario and Luigi back in the day. The N64 Mario Kart was just the absolute nuts. If you didn't play Nintendo 64, I'm sorry that you didn't grow up in the best time ever, but that was peak Mangone, in my opinion. It was like Game Boy and Nintendo 64 were like the 2 peaks growing up. And that was definitely one of them. Mario Kart and just Mario Bros. Like the Mario game, like those were the absolute nuts. Donkey Kong. Those were like the
party,
best.
The party was a good one. I always love playing that.
007. What's the dark? What was the Perfect Dark? Yeah. There was so many good games back in that day. N64, absolutely goated. Yes, DFS Dom, 100%. And the guys that just don't know, I feel bad for. Like guys like Big T, I just feel bad for him because he has no idea what any of that. He didn't even know what Sonic was, Mangone.
Dude, I heard that and it was like absolutely egregious. Like understanding what Sonic is crazy.
That was like back when he was a kid. You know what I mean? That was like Big T's time. The Sega.
I don't know if he was trolling you just to troll you.
No, he wasn't. I could tell when he's trolling me. Like I know because he'll call me a donkey after. Like no, he 100% was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do here? I don't understand how you don't know what Sonic is.
I'm with you.
But back to the NBA stuff here. I mean, the Cup was honestly, man, I don't know if I love it. Like, I just, to be honest, it's fine. It's whatever. I get that, some of the players that, are further down the bench, they make a little extra coin. I'm sure they like it. When they win, obviously, but just in general, and I'm a huge NBA fan. You're a big NBA guy. I mean, I don't know your take on it, but like, I don't really care for it that much, but it's hoops. I still love watching hoops. It's just to me, it's just another basketball game, to be honest with you. So yeah, the Bucks won. That was, good for them. I mean, OKC team I think is legit, but at the same time, they don't have Chet and, they had a rough game, but yeah, I wasn't that pumped up, honestly, about the actual like NBA Cup finals. It was more just like, yeah, I get to watch the Bucks. And you know what else kind of sucks about it, Mangone? And I think it hurts it for me in a way is we get all these days where we just have no slates or shitty slates or massive slates on football slates. And it's like, what's going on here? How in the world do we have, you get Tuesday, you get 1 game, you get no games on Wednesday, how many games they have yesterday? Like 11? Like, I don't even know. A ton of games on Thursday, on a football Thursday, and then you get 3 games on a Friday where there's no NFL. And then you got to go Saturday, and they do another like 11 games on Saturday, and there's 2 football games on the Saturday. Whoever makes the schedule is just a complete donkey because it's just horrible.
I was kind of okay with it. I was okay with the break. I'll say that. So because we got a lot of football coming up and everything, and it's going to be a grind. But I did have a take I wanted to ask you about, JC, because I actually think this is the proper take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everyone is going to talk about how good this team is, and they are ready to win a title and all that stuff. I actually don't think they're ready to win a title still. I think they are. This is what's going to happen this year. If they make the finals, they are going to look like the Celtics look like when they played the Golden State Warriors back in 2001, 2002. The team's not ready. They have a lot of good pieces. They don't have all the right pieces, and eventually they will. They have a lot. They've gathered a lot of good pieces, just like the Celtics did. You remember they had Robert Williams. They had Grant Williams, right? They have guys that are younger that'll slowly get better. Thunder are still like a couple years away, and I think people want to.
So I got a question then. Is there something in your mind they could do between now and the trade deadline to change your opinion on that? Is there someone they could go out and get that you think is like reasonable that would change your opinion?
Young, man. I just think you have to earn it in this league. I think it takes time. I think you have to go through dogfights a series, and I just don't think if they run into the Celtics in the finals.
Yeah, but that's the finals.
Yeah.
So okay. So do you just if they get to the finals, is that a win for their season or is that still a loss?
I think it's a win for their season, but the point I'm getting at is like I think people think they have like a real shot, and I think when they play the Celtics in the finals, if they do, I think it'll be obvious like, oh yeah, this team's not ready yet. Just like the Celtics weren't kind of ready when they played the Warriors a couple.
Here's the thing. There's 2 problems with OK. Well, there's one main problem with OKC is when you get to the playoffs, the stuff that they give with SGA, they don't give as much when it comes to the fouls and stuff like that. So his game gets a little hurt. So what does that mean? You need to have better performances from all these other guys, right? In the regular season, SGA is going to do his thing and you know, it's going to be good. But in the postseason, those others have to play up a little bit more. So it's going to kind of depend more on, in my opinion, you know, what Jalen Williams does, what, you know, Chet Holmgren does, you know, those second and third stars on the team. And then obviously they got the role players and stuff, but it's going to kind of be on them, I think, if they can make the leap and do it. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably right. The only thing that like the other thing that I think helps them is I do think that outside of the SGA part, the rest of their team is like set up for the playoffs because they have a lot of really good on-ball defenders that play tough defense and are going to give some teams fits, some teams on the perimeters absolute fits. So, you know, a team like the Celtics, you know, they do have a lot of guys, but that's a team where, you know, you could be able to almost switch everything, right? You're going to be able to put some pesty defenders on all these guys. Now, are they going to stop the Celtics? Probably not, but it is a series. So, you know,
I just think when you look
I get what you're saying though. They're probably another year away. You know,
I just think they're a little further than that. Like to the point where like, so they have all these different
Who
guys.
else in the West though is your team then? Like you got.
I mean, I think they're gonna get there, but I think when you look at their team as a whole, I think if you look at the Celtics,
you're just talking about literally the best team. That's all you're talking about.
Yeah. But the other thing I'm thinking is like the like Lou Dorts and Caruso's and Case and Wallace. They have a lot of them. Like, I don't think the recipe is having a lot of them. I think it's like turning those guys into some other big piece, right? Or like Isaiah Hartenstein and one of those guys into another big piece, right? Like that's what I'm getting at. Like I don't think this team is the team. Like when you look at the Celtics when they won the title, right? If I told you Marcus Smart wasn't on that team, you'd be like, you're crazy, right? And like Robert Williams and Brogdon, all those guys that laid down the work is what I'm getting at.
No, I mean, well, look what they did though. Like they went out and got a bunch of like kind of better fit Marcus Smarts in a way. You know what I mean? Like they went out and got Derek White. They went out and got, you know, Drew Holiday. Like, I mean, Drew Holiday is literally Marcus Smart on steroids, like in a way. Like he's he's a much better Marcus Smart. Even when Marcus Smart was at his peak, I think everyone would take Drew Holiday over Marcus Smart. Derek White is playing the best basketball of his career, and it's not a coincidence that they got him kind of for cheap because the Spurs were kind of tanking. They were like, all right, let's get rid of some of these guys. Oh, Derek White's pretty, let's get rid of him. And, they got him. That was a really good deal for them. But
yeah, you were just making my point when you were like, aren't they the best team in the West? And I'm like, well, if they don't win in like 3 years, people are going to start being
well,
like,
that's my point though, is like, who else in the West are they like? So you're saying that, for them to be the second team in the NBA, the second best team in the NBA, that's like a bad thing. It's like, I don't know. That sounds pretty decent to me. I mean,
it's definitely good, but I just think they're young, and I think it's going to take longer than people think. I think everyone's going to be impatient. That's all.
The fun team is the Houston Rockets. They might not be the best team, but they're the fun team.
They are,
in my opinion, because they got a lot of guys, maybe too many guys, honestly, Mangone.
They have too many.
But like, they might not have the ultimate superstar. You know what I mean? Like, that might be their one issue, unless like, Jalen Green becomes consistent, or Sengun just becomes an absolute monster, and he is a legit mini Jokic, and he gets consistent that way. They need something like that though, or they got to take some of these younger guys and get someone really good, one or the other. So they're a team that I always liked. I liked them before the season. I'm glad they got off to a good start. So I
do like to hate on Dylan Brooks, but he is a good fit for that team. I will say that. I like to make fun of him.
I hate Dylan Brooks. He's one guy I cannot. He's fine on that team, but I can't stand him just in general. So Jimmy Butler for Hartenstein, Dort, and Case. Yeah. I don't know if that's happening, but maybe. Probably not. Yeah, Jace, do you like the Knicks winning it all?
No.
I issue with the damn Knicks. I wish the Knicks were in. Honestly, if the Knicks were in the West, I'd feel a lot better about them getting the pain in the ass thing about the Knicks is the Knicks got to go through the Celtics, and I think the Celtics are just one of the juggernaut teams right now that you're going to need them to have guys go down, honestly. And we don't root on injuries or anything like that, but I think that's what you need. I mean, I like the Knicks. I think they're a fun team. I like what Cat's doing over there. Just in general, he's been friggin' awesome.
Cat's been great. Absolutely awesome.
Jalen Brunson's been he hasn't had to be as good as he was last year, but like I think it's more because Cat's been so good, Mangone, that like, there's a little give and take with that. So, but yeah, I just don't think they're full strength, both teams. I just don't see them getting past the Celtics in a series, and that's the problem for me with the Knicks. But it's a fun conversation. I think the West is definitely a lot more of a fun conversation, Mangone, than the East. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of for me like the AFC and the NFC with football. Like I think the AFC, there's like 2, maybe 3 teams. You throw all the other teams out, like just throw them all out. There's only 2 or 3 teams that have a shot at all. Whereas like the NFC, I could literally see 5 or 6. I could see like 5 teams. Like I think it's that deep in the NFC. I don't know if people like view it that way, but I think there's a lot of like really good teams in the NFC.
It's definitely
actually my point. So there's like the best team in the NFC, which I think is the Eagles. And then I think there's a drop off with 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think they're all pretty close in the NFC. Where I think in the AFC, there's like 1 and 2. Then there's a small drop off to 3. And then there's a massive drop off 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's my thing with
I agree with you, and obviously you think the Lions have more of a drop off because of the injuries they're dealing with.
Because all the injuries,
It's not the same team, right? Like it is.
In the play, I can't see them withstanding all these injuries in the playoffs against the best teams. When they got to go face, like what happens if they got to go face the friggin' Packers? In the first round, like, Packers are a tough team. You know what I mean? Or they got to go go beat the Rams. Rams are tough. Not go beat the Rams. They obviously play them in Detroit, but like the Rams are a tough team. And don't forget, like the Rams played them tough. Like some of these teams at the bottom have are playing. Maybe they're losing to these good teams, but they're playing tough against a lot of these good teams. And some of them are catching their stride late in the year. Look at the Bucks. Look at the Rams. Look at the Packers. All have been playing really good down the stretch, man. Going that's my thing with the NFC. You look at the bottom and you're like, oh, these teams, do they have a shot? But like they've been playing really good the last few weeks, and like maybe they do have a small chance.
For sure. All right, we can dive into the slate. We will talk about it. It's only 3 games, so we will breeze through this one for sure. I will say the first game that we do have up, we are waiting on the Embiid news. So we should probably wait. We'll give it 10 minutes because I do think we get an update in 10 minutes on Embiid. I don't know.
Yeah, why don't we do that game last, man? Going since we already have we have one side of the news, but we don't have all the news, and maybe we get an update, before we get out of or before we get to the game and stuff like that. And if not, then we'll have the update in Discord. Obviously, that's why you should be a Run Pure Sports member, and you can use that code RPS15 if you want to sign up, get you 15% off. But let's do that.
What a professional right there.
I am a pro. You like that?
It was perfect. All right, let's get to Milwaukee and Cleveland. It's clearly a day that we have to consider playing Giannis, right? Giannis is going to be, one of the top raw point scorers on the slate. Damian Lillard is out, or our guy JT says Damian Lillard. He is out of the game. And with him being out, that opens up a lot of opportunity, right? A lot more usage. And Giannis is going to obviously be the best spend on the slate. You could decide what you want to do with that based on the ownership. He's going to have a lot of ownership, rightfully so. He's a good play, good chalk in my opinion here on this slate. When you look at all the other options, like this is where it gets a little tricky. Bobby Portis, I do think he is in a nice role at 5.4K. I don't mind him. Chris Middleton, the issue with Chris Middleton coming off of an injury, he has seen a max of 23 minutes in his 4 games he has played. I do not see him upticking past that mark. I think it's more likely that he plays like 20-ish minutes. I don't think he's a good play on this slate at all. I would not be playing Chris Middleton. I'd be trying to figure out who is it between these other options on this slate. One of the guys I think that sticks out that could have a good role is, let's say, Andre Jackson, DeLon Wright. Those are kind of 2 guys to really talk about. One of the things on the flip side to discuss is those are guards, and how do you rate those guards versus the Charlotte ones that are later on, right? You can put Andre Jackson at shooting guard or small forward. So that kind of makes me lean him as a better play than DeLon Wright in this spot. You do have like a Taurean Prince, who I do think you could see some, you could see him get some more minutes, but if he plays the 3 and they put Middleton maybe at the 2 a little bit if they want to get a little bigger. But all in all, it's a spot where I think we have to love Giannis and Bobby Portis 1 and 2. And then these values on the Bucks, they're fine, but they're not priority plays. Like I talked about it yesterday. I didn't think Oscar Thompson was a priority play, but I thought those Dallas Mavericks were priority values. I feel pretty similar with Andre Jackson. Like he's not a priority play, but these values on the Charlotte side, they are priority plays, right? So I think we want to focus on mainly Portis and Giannis and then kind of sift through the value plays. Let's start with Milwaukee, just only JSU, so we can talk about how to handle this Dame stuff.
Yeah, so I agree kind of with what you're saying about Chris Middleton. It's annoying because he's probably not going to play more than 22 to 24, 25 minutes. Maybe he gets a few minutes bumped, right, Mango? And that's something we don't know, but he has consistently played. I doubt it too. I doubt it too. He's consistently played like 22, 23 minutes. I think that's where he stays. So I don't love him. I haven't seen like an assist prop on him. I think like a prop bet might be a better look with someone like Chris Middleton. If it's out there, I know early this morning I couldn't find any props on him, at least on DraftKings. So, but Yeah, I don't love him as a DFS play, even though at least he's cheaper now, Mangone, right? Like when he started, he was 6K. He is cheaper, but I'm still not going to play him. I agree with you. I think you want to get to Giannis on this slate. If you made me pick between all the studs, he's definitely the number one clear-cut guy I would want. I think AJ Green is probably a decent play on DraftKings just with the 3-point upside with no Dame. I do agree with you that, DeLon could get a little bit of run or, Andre Jackson. But I think we're going to see a lot of when Chris Middleton's out there. I think he's going to command the rock a little bit more. Giannis is going to command the rock. And then you're going to see shooters kind of around them, right? So this could be a spot too. Like Giannis triple-double is definitely live because I think he will have a lot more potential assists and stuff like that because, they've got size, try and pack the paint. And, if you're an opposite team of the Bucks, you're going to want to make them shoot from the outside. So these guys like, Green, I think are going to be necessary in there. I think Gary Trent's role might see a little bit of an uptick. He's 3,600. And Mangone, that's kind of like where I'm at with the cheap guys is I'm more on the AJ Green, Gary Trent side as opposed to the DeLon Wright, Andre Jackson side, more because I want guys that can shoot out there because I think they're going to need those guys. And Chris Middleton can only play so much because we think he's limited. Their bigs can shoot from the outside, but they're still going to need this stretch from some of those perimeter guards. So I think one of them is going to be necessary in the game a lot, unless you see like maybe Pat Connaughton gets a little bit of a rollback. He hasn't played that much recently, but maybe he gets a little bit of a rollback. But if not, I think it's a lot of AJ Green or Gary Trent in there. So they'd be the two cheap guys I would like for tournaments. I'm probably not going to play that much Andre Jackson. If DeLon Wright's starting, he is Stone Min, so I'm not going to say anything against DeLon Wright because he can get there, without really scoring, to be honest with you. He's done it before at Stone Min. So, not a guy that I love, but a guy that, if it makes everything work, I'm okay with. So yeah, that's kind of the Milwaukee side. Outside of I do think you can play someone like, Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis. The thing that's annoying with Portis is, the minutes are completely up and down. But when he's getting, 22, 23 minutes or more, he's producing. So if he does get in that range, he could have a decent game against a team like Cleveland. And the same thing like Brook Lopez, not your typical big. I don't love this spot for Brook Lopez, but it's a 3-game slate. I wouldn't rule him out of the conversation. So yeah, that's kind of the Milwaukee side for me. The Cleveland side, obviously, they've got less, guys out and stuff like that. They got a Coro out, but they might get Max Struss back. That's another injury news that we're kind of waiting on still, right, Mangone? It's not just Joel Embiid. He's not as big, obviously, but he's just another body that adds to the pool of guys. But the guy that kind of sticks out to me a little bit is Darius Garland. I just feel like this is a matchup in a spot that suits someone like Darius Garland's game. Those floaters, outside shooting and stuff like that. And he's had some good games against this team already this year. His game's at home. I do like Darius Garland playing a little better at home too, shooting a little better at home. So he's probably the guy I like the most, him. And then if you made me pick someone else, I mean, it would mainly be spend ups. I don't really not going to play Jared Allen in this spot. It would probably just be one of the guards, either Donnie Mitch or Darius Garland. But I think Garland's my favorite Mangone of the Cleveland guys. I don't know if you have a pick between the guys.
Yeah, I'd rank it Garland, Evan Mobley, and then Jared Allen. That would kind of be, I guess, maybe Donnie Mitch. It's really hard to spend for him, I feel like, because I feel like I have other options that I'm kind of getting to. But yeah, I mean, they're really good plays, right? I'd say this is probably, I mean, depending on what happens with Embiid, which, by the way, game time decision on Embiid. So we still don't have that status. I don't know if we'll get the status when we're on air. We're not going to sit here and just wait, but we'll see what happens with that news. Maybe we'll get it. We'll be able to digest it and talk about it. If not, we'll have the content in the Discord for all of you guys. But it's definitely a good spot for a lot of these options. I like Darius Garland, though, probably the most. So we kind of are aligned there on that one. You're on mute.
What are you doing with the Bucks cheapies? Are you like going in on one specifically? Do you like Andre Jackson? Who's like, what's your ranking with those guys?
I want starters, but
say that like Andre Jackson or DeLon Wright starts.
I prefer Andre Jackson over DeLon Wright, just because I don't know if I'm going to have the I don't know if I'm going to have like the spot to go DeLon Wright at point guard, right? Like I just feel like I might be kind of stuck with that. On FanDuel, I would go DeLon Wright over Andre Jackson, mainly because I get 4 point guards there, right? So that would be a little bit different of a perspective. But on DK, I would rather go Andre Jackson just because I think my guard spots have too much value. And like, dude, if Embiid sits, now I need Tyrese Maxey, right? Like I need him on my lineups.
Well, or Paul George, you want probably one of those guys, right? So
yeah, and so I just don't think DeLon Wright I think he's not a great play on DraftKings. I would rather go Andre Jackson. Another thing to call it with Brook Lopez, you mentioned, I think, a little bit. I don't know what you said about Brook Lopez, but my big concern with him always is I want him when Giannis is out, right? He is a premier rebounder, or I should say boxer outer, right? Like he's really good at boxing people out to allow Giannis to get those rebounds. When Giannis is out, now he understands I need to not just box people out. I need to get the boards, right? It's a different role that he has. Instead of getting the offensive rebound and kicking it back, he will put it back in if it's Brook Lopez without Giannis. So it's just a different role. And I like Brook Lopez a lot when Giannis is out. But when Giannis is in, it's just a little bit tougher for me to get to him. And I think the usage just funnels to Bobby Portis, not as much to a Brook Lopez. So that would be my concern there. And I do think center has a lot of really good spend-ups.
Any props you like in this game, Mangone? I did talk up Darius Garland, but I do like his under 6.5 assists. I kind of like Donnie Mitch's over 4.5 assists. Is there any props that you like in this game, Mangone?
Yeah, I can stall for a second so I can just like double check.
Yeah, no, I mean, those were the two props that I was kind of looking at. You know, the Giannis props are all, I mean, like I think Giannis has a good game, but I'm not going to bet any of his props.
Yeah, Giannis, Bobby did give out the Giannis over 38.5 rebounds and points. I think it was rebounds and points, or maybe it was assists and points. What was it? Let's see. Let me find the pick six.
I do his assist props at 7.5. You know, juice to the under.
Yeah.
I do think this is a game that sets up for him to handle the ball more.
Yeah.
So
Bobby bet over on 38.5 points and assists. So if you want one of those,
I don't hate that. Because I could see him, like I said, I could see this being a set. If this game is close and it doesn't blow out or anything like that, I could see Giannis having a big, you know, all around stat game, filling up the sheet. So yeah, I don't hate that, but he's going to need some guys to hit shots, which could correlate into like, you know, some of these 3-point looks. If you like the guy like, you know, Brook Lopez over 1.5 threes, or, you know, AJ Green's 2.5. I don't really love the 2.5, but might correlate into some of those props. So
yeah, I got 2 bets for you that I like. It's over on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and I like this one because we are going. And actually, I did bet Andre Jackson over 4.5 points earlier in the day, but
I like that.
Yeah, I like that one, and then I like Georges Niang's. I like Georges Niang's under on 8.5 points. He probably won't play as like he plays more in the small ballish lineups, right? Like that's not going to happen as much. The Bucks are probably going to lean into the big man lineups a little bit more. So I do think that is a good one. And then so I'm betting that now. Get my bet in. You can tail it if you like. And then the other one was Bobby Portis over on points. I'll bet that as well. So it's 12.5 points. I like the over. And like I said with the Brook Lopez stuff, Bobby Portis' usage is going to be a lot better with Dame out. It's not going to be as much towards Brook Lopez, right? It's going to be Bobby Portis and Giannis running the show. So those will be the two that I am on in that game. JSU's got some that he is on as well. We do not have the Embiid news, so we are going to move past that game. Is there anything else you want to mention with this game, JSU, or you want to shift over to Thunder?
No, I mean, our guy Benair in the chat was saying Jared Allen's got some pretty good stats against the Bucks. He does actually have some pretty good stats here, and he's 6,700. I guess I don't hate it as much. Looking at it a little bit more. I will say though, I am interested in some of these other centers on this. Like center's one of those positions, Mangone, where I can kind of find one or two in every range, like in every price range. I feel like center's pretty good. Like me personally, I think I'm going to be double center tonight. I don't know about you, but I think it's going to be a slate where I double center it up. So
yeah, we did just get word from, let's see. So apparently Jason Duma said Embiid is still on the injury report, but his sources told me he will play against the Hornets tonight, barring any setbacks. That was 2 hours ago. And then 10 minutes ago, he quoted that tweet and said, FYI, Nick Nurse just said it sounds pretty positive regarding Embiid playing tonight during the pre-game presser. That was 10 minutes ago. And then, as Beamer said, Legion Hoops, then kind of a minute later, piggybacked off that. We do not have it from Underdog, but it does sound like he's going to play.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so we can, we'll wait a little bit. If we do get that game, we'll operate under that accordingly. And thank you for the source, Benair, because I wouldn't have believed you if I
Benair, baby, coming on strong. Love that, Benair.
There you go. Coming on strong like them Giants. Maybe the Giants pull off an upset this weekend. We'll have to see. But
never know.
Let's get on over to the Heat and the Thunder, which, I do think is a pretty interesting game. We'll see if the Thunder, how they're feeling after, their loss. I don't know if they're going to, I don't know if maybe they kind of struggle after this for a little bit just because, I don't know, maybe it wears them out, kind of grinding out some games and they don't get up for the games. I don't know if that's the case. We'll see. I will say I'm not a big SGA guy tonight. SGA I like against some more undisciplined teams. Like if this is the team that you're not going to get all of those, calls. I think the Heat is kind of that team. I also don't think he's the best spend compared to some other options. I like getting Giannis. It's crazy as it sounds. If Embiid plays, I do like Embiid a little bit today. And there's a lot of other spends that I like in that second tier that we talked about. We talked about Donovan Mitchell. Talked about Garland, Evan Mobley. So I'm just not super excited about going up to Giannis and SGA today. I don't like that build as much. Also, did you see this, JSC, before we keep going? AP got followed by Antonio Brown. You see that on Twitter?
No way.
Yeah. He posted it on Twitter. He got a follow from AV. So
that's sick.
I know.
Love that, AP. Congrats. That's the Twitter man of the year. Getting followed by AP. I mean, AB and AP. That's it. It's the combo right there. I'm jealous.
I know. Maybe he watches our shows and maybe he's secretly a JSU fan and he'll give you a follow soon. You never know.
You never know. I'm gonna have my brother put in a good word though. I'm gonna tell him put in a good word with AB.
Yeah, put in a good word over there.
He knows I'm a big AB guy. I told him if you ever get a chance to get AB's autograph, I want it. I gotta remind him on Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a little pause there. Let's get back to Jimmy Butler. Which for one, Jimmy Butler reminded us the other day against Detroit, and I know it was a long game and everything. Went to OT, 44 minutes, but dude had 88.75 DK points the other day.
Just out of literally nowhere.
Yeah.
Literal nowhere.
Which he has the ability to do some crazy stuff like that. Now how will he do?
I feel like Jimmy he just pick and chooses when he wants to actually try.
Yeah, and that's why with someone like him, he's always an interesting low-owned stud, right? If he's a low-owned option on a slate, he's kind of intriguing.
I just hate him because he just went off for 88.
I know, right? And the other problem I might have with him a little bit is I know on FanDuel he's kind of chalky. And I know it's only a 3-game slate, so I don't want to be like, oh, we're talking about chalk and everything. But dude, he's going to have ownership, and he has the ability to, yes, he has the ability to win you a slate, but he also really has the ability to lose you a slate as well. And will he be in the torture chamber? Like, that's concerning, right? Like, I'm just a little cautious, I think, with this situation. I'll also call out, like, I think this is a really good Bam Adebayo spot. This is where I think Bam might kind of get more usage, and he might have to command the offense a little bit more, and the ball might run through him more here. Now, we can talk about Tyler Hero, who is 7.4K, and, you know, he's been really good throughout the season. I do think some of those guards will give him fits, and that's why I really think things are going to funnel to Bam to kind of have to do more today amongst this offense. So I think Bam is the best spend on the Heat side of the ball. Obviously, there's some other cheap options that you can kind of call out, JSU, which ones you like the best. I doubt I'm going to cherry pick too many of these guys. Maybe Hawkes is fine, but and then the OKC side, I mentioned SGA. Now I don't love him. I also don't know if it's the best slate to mix and match the values of Lou Dort and Casey Wallace and Alex Caruso. Like, a matchup against Miami is not really the spot where you see them thrive. I want to play these guys against Portland, right, where it's a sloppy game, and that's where they can really add to their totals. And we also have good value on this slate on the Charlotte side. So I actually think the value on OKC, if you're getting any of those guys, I would try to be more under on some of those plays. And then I think Bam Adebayo is the guy in the Heat. So I think I summed it up pretty good at how I'm approaching this game, JSU. Let the people know what you're doing here.
Yeah, I definitely like Bam Adebayo. I think it's a good spot for him too. I agree with a lot of your points on him, and 8,100. I don't know how many people. Maybe I'm wrong, and I think with Embiid in too, it might take away from ownership of guys just below him. I don't know if you got to take on the ownership side of Joel Embiid if he plays, but I definitely think Bam Adebayo is good.
Joel Embiid will be like very owned. I think the build tonight, just to kind of give like a thought process.
And what that means too, Mango, not to interrupt you, but just throwing it out there, like the guys under him are going to come in much lower owned than what they were going to be. Like guys like Adebayo and Hartenstein, I think are going to lose ownership that they were going to get because Embiid in.
Yeah, 1,000%. I just think you have the ability to go up and get Giannis. He's the best stud on the slate, right? And then when you just look at the studs up at the top, Embiid being 9.5 in a matchup against Charlotte, right? Matchup against Charlotte, like, and if he's in, he's already shown that he can go off in spots. Like, he struggled against Indiana, but why did he struggle? Well, he played 17 minutes and got 25 DK points, and he got hurt, right? Those are the two guys that most people are gravitating towards, 1,000%, JSU. But continue on with this game.
Yeah, so I'm not probably going to play Jimmy off the big game. I think it's a tougher spot for those guys out on the perimeter, hence why I like Bam. I'm not going to play Tyler Hero. Don't really like the one guy I don't mind is Drew Smith because I still think he's cheap enough that I think you can play him on this slate. But if Jovic was in, man, going, he's 3,100. If he plays and he's available, I think he's an interesting cheapie. That's kind of like, Aaron Wiggins down there at 31, not to jump around, but like some of these cheap guys, like if it opens up everything else and it gets you to Giannis, I'm totally fine with that. So I think those are like the plays that I'm more looking at is like, Bam, I think Drew Smith is in play. I think that Jovic, if in, is also in play for Miami. Those are the three guys that I like the most. From Miami, price included, obviously, so, the OKC side, I think is tougher to nail down because of how many role players they have. And, we've seen guys play big minutes and then play, like 15 minutes the next night. You know what I mean? Aaron Wiggins played 31 minutes against Orlando. You know what I mean? That was, last time they played. It's just, some games he's playing big minutes. Some games he's playing, 10 to 15. So it's tough to trust with these guys, but he is pretty cheap. I do like that about him. I think Lou Dort on DraftKings, though, is not terrible at 4,700. I don't mind it because if he gets me like 25, 26, I don't feel like I'm completely dead. And, he can also get me, 35 or something. So he has it at least in him. Not a guy that I like the roster, but it's a 3-game slate, so you got to kind of take some shots on some of these guys. I also like Alex Caruso. He's probably the other cheapie from OKC I like. My main question is going to be, I'm going to spend up for Giannis. The Giannis SGA builds are kind of tough. I agree with you that they are kind of tough to build. And now you got Joel Embiid, who's going to pick in some of this ownership. So is SGA Giannis going to be like different on this slate with Embiid in?
I would think so.
Because if that's the case, then I think I might just take some shots with those builds.
I think they are. I just don't. I think a lot of people, the way that they are naturally going to build on this slate, they're going to go Giannis, like he is the lock guy. You throw him on your teams. And then from there, it's like, okay, people will probably go to an Embiid, right? Mainly because Embiid is just too cheap. On top of that, you got other options like Garland and Evan Mobley. You could play like a Bobby Portis, Miles Bridges, and like, I don't know, a Tyler Hero, right? There's just so many like tier 2 guys that you can mix and match throughout your lines. Maybe you want to go Jimmy Butler, Bobby Portis, and Miles Bridges, right? Like there's just so many different guys that you can kind of mix and match from that 6K to like 8.5K range that I think overall a lot of people are doing that build, and the SGA build will naturally get overlooked.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And that kind of brings me back to my point of like, I think I might just take some shots on those type of builds and, see if it's going to be low. Maybe who knows too with Embiid, like you never know with him. I mean, that game could blow out. That game, they might be cautious with them first game back. I kind of like the idea of building with some of those SGA lineups here. So yeah, he'd probably be the spend up for me. Isaiah Hartenstein or Bam. I would prefer Bam, but if you don't have the 1100 to get up to Bam, I think Hartenstein's okay. It's definitely a tougher spot for him though. So yeah, that's kind of my takes on this game. Not a game on a big slate I'd probably be into as much, but on this slate, I think you got to take some pieces.
Yeah, I think you have to on this slate. It just is what it is. So I like the other route. You want to take shots on SGA, fine. Not for me though. I understand if you want to take shots, like I get it. It's totally a good build. And there's enough value to do it, right? Which we'll talk about here in this Charlotte game as we get to it. I guess, JC, before we finish up with this game, I'm on the wrong tab here. I want to figure out which OKC value would like. What are you doing with the OKC values in particular? Like, are these guys you are looking to play at all? Or like, if you play one, who is your favorite here?
Of the values on OKC?
Yeah, like of the Isaiah Joes, Caruso, Wallace, Dort, or are you just Xing him out?
I think Dort is number one, but I wouldn't put him in that bucket because even though he's a value technically, Mangone, he's like a starter who plays like, a decent amount of minutes. Like the guys I'd put in the boat are the guys under him because their minutes just could be up one game, down another game, and they're hard to kind of peg out. Or they could all play like 15 to 22 minutes, So yeah, that's the tough thing with these OKC guys. But the way I would rank them, price included, obviously, is I would have Alex Caruso. This isn't counting Lou Dort. It'd be Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, and then probably go Case and Wallace, Isaiah Joe. Yeah, that's probably how I'd rank him.
Yeah, and if you are MMEing, another thing you could do to kind of like, mitigate how much of these guys you get, maybe make a rule of max of 1 and like just put the bucket of 5 of them in there. Put Dort, Wallace, Caruso, Joe, and Wiggins, and just say max 1. And you might have.
I would definitely make the rule of. Well, yeah. I wouldn't put Dort in the mix. I would put the rest of them in the mix, and I'd say max 1. And that don't mean you're going to get one, but that way, if one of those guys has like a decent game, it's not like you just kind of let it run and see if, it gives you that one guy. Cause it really is a coin flip. Like any game, if you told me Alex Caruso played 28 minutes today and then played 12 minutes next game, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't. Case and Wallace play 30 minutes one game, play 12 minutes the next game. It's kind of just however outside of the the, main four guys, Mangone, all those other guys are kind of just, flip them around. Like they all can change roles any day.
For sure. All right, let's get to the last game to discuss on the slate, Charlotte and Philadelphia. It's the game, right? It's the one with all the value because Charlotte is missing LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams. They've been missing Trey Mann. Like, you have to like some of these guys. Miles Bridges is the most expensive one on the slate. He is 6.3K. He's got all the opportunity in the world. We also got our guy Reeses in the chat. He said, don't we need Richards at center? Yeah, you do, but you can play him, Embiid, and Giannis if you want because Giannis is forward eligible. So that is not too hard to make work if you would like. Nick Richards is definitely a good play at 5.1K. He will probably be the starting center. Will he get into foul trouble with Embiid flopping all over the place? Who knows? But at 5.1, he's a good play in this spot. So Bridges, Richards, good options. We assume Micic is the starting point guard at 4K. I think he's a solid option. I think he'll be hogging the ball a lot. We assume Seth Curry will also start next to him. We'll have Bridges and Richards. And then I think the fifth starter is Josh Green, who, not a high usage guy, but he's a starter at 4.8K. And then Cody Martin is a bench guy that you'll see play. He is not going to just magically play, I don't think, like 35 minutes, but you never know. But he's 5.2K. I don't love playing him, but he is definitely someone that you can get exposure to on this slate. And then the other guys to kind of mention is, like, what do we do with, like, the KJ Simpsons, the Isaiah Wongs, these, like, random values that are going to have absolutely no ownership, but they are leverage plays off these other guard options. So, Jason, talk about Charlotte first, because clearly it's the spot of the slate, and we got to figure out how to kind of navigate these starters and these bench guys.
Yeah, and I will just say, like, you brought up Nick Richards. I love Nick Richards. I think he's a good player. I think this is a really bad spot for Nick Richards if Embiid's back. It just smells like foul trouble city. And I think a really good pivot is Diabate. Diabate's a guy who they've been giving minutes to, even with Mark Williams back when they're all healthy and in. He's still been getting some minutes at center, and they've been kind of playing three guys. And, he had a decent stretch of games with Mark Williams out where, he doesn't look to score, but he's a high volume rebounder. He can do a little of everything else. He's athletic. And at 3,200, he kind of can open up those SGA Giannis builds, those double stud, the Giannis Embiid, he can open up those double stud builds, and he's 3,200, and he's a pivot off of, I would assume Nick Richards is going to be popular, Mangone. I would assume that he's going to get some ownership. So he's a direct pivot off of a guy that's going to get a lot of ownership. And I don't think he has the same upside as Nick Richards. I think Nick Richards has much higher upside, but he's 3,200, and I think he could get you 24, 25 fantasy points in the right spot if the game goes the way you want it to go, whether it's foul trouble for Nick Richardson, whether it's maybe a blowout and he gets more run that way. So I think he's a pretty good play. Micic is a guy that most people are just going to suck up and put in the lineup. The only way you fade Micic, in my opinion, is if you just play it like it's going to blow out, and it's going to blow out early, where, you probably don't need anyone from the Philly side. Like, you could play an Embiid if you wanted, but it's more of a lineup where you kind of just fade the starters, right? So you're fading Bridges, you're fading Richards, you're fading Micic. You can play a Diabate in that role. You could play an Isaiah Wong as a pivot, I think, at 3,400. And maybe, like, you only play like two value guys, but they're bench value guys. So I think you either play it one of two ways, and I think that's how I'm going to go with my three builds, Mangone, is in two of them, I'm going to play it like it's close. And in one of them, I'm going to play it like it's a blowout where, none of those starters really get there at all. So that's the way I look at Charlotte. Seth Curry's a guy that I always fade Seth Curry. He gets in these spots all the times. He's definitely a good play at 3K if he's starting, but I definitely see worlds where he doesn't get there. He's very scoring dependent too, and I love to fade guys who just they have to be hitting outside jump shots to get there because Seth Curry doesn't do anything else. You know what I mean? It's like that dribble mid range or it's that outside three. So he's got to be hitting those outside shots.
I actually bet his under on 11.5 points. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. I think that's a really good bet. So I like that bet. I'm going to put it in after I'm done talking. And then on the Philly side, I really wanted to play Paul George because everyone was talking about small forwards a wasteland. Small forwards always the team. Like, it's terrible. Small forwards really bad. And that's why some of the cheap guys that you'll notice that I said I liked, a lot of them are small forward eligible in some of these other games. So, Paul George is a guy that I really want to play. With Embiid in, though, I do think it really hurts his upside in this spot. But I do think he's still an okay play. Like, I would still probably play him over Jimmy B, Mangone. I don't know if that's crazy. I don't know. Do you like Paul George over Jimmy Butler?
I would say yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess on the cash stuff, I put Paul George first. But honestly, in tournaments, I think Jimmy Butler's better. So I think in tournaments, Butler's the better play. I'll go with that. But honestly, the more I think about it, like if you look at the small forward position too, this is where it like becomes really interesting. Small forward's like really bad, right? Like so you might get forced to spend up just because like that's why like you kind of maybe have to consider like the Lou Dorts and Cody Martins and like Alex.
Well, that's why I said don't put Lou Dort in that pool.
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons why. Because this is my small forward pool.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and this is my small forward pool. So if I spend up as Paul George, then I'm obviously going down. You got Lou Dort, you got Alex Caruso. I would put Gary Trent in there. If I play Gary Trent would be at small forward. You got Aaron Wiggins. And then I think if you want to play like an all-starters build where Charlotte keeps the game close and it's like a big game stack, I think Josh Green has like the upside. His floor is not great, but I think he has the upside even at that price tag, which I don't love the price tag because I think Lou Dort's just a straight-up better play, a safer play. But I think Josh Green has the upside. So if I build like a 5 or 6 man game stack of that Philly game, that's where I play like a Josh Green. It's like my 4th Charlotte guy. And I just hope that like the game just goes nuts and all of my guys kind of get there. So, but like a lot of outside of Paul George, like none of those small forwards make you feel that great, right, Mangone? Like even Paul George at 8,500 probably doesn't make you feel amazing, honestly, but
no, it's bad at small forward. Like it's just, I mean, it just drops off so quick, right? There's 2 guys above 8K or like at the top, which are Butler and George. Then there's Chris Middleton, who I talked tons of shit about, right? Then there's Cody Martin, who don't love. Max Struss in his season debut, and then it's like Josh Green and below. It's just there's not
Max Struss. I wouldn't mind if I knew he was going to play like a good amount, but I just can't see him playing like a ton first game back.
Yeah, and that's
a while.
And that's why people in the chat are talking about Gary Trent at 3.6. That's why I like Andre Jackson a little bit if he starts. And that's why Andrew Wiggins isn't crazy at 3.1 because it just says this position sucks. And let's just.
God, I wish I could play Andrew Wiggins on this slate.
I mean, not Andrew, Aaron. Yeah, Aaron Wiggins. So, all in all, that's that. I do want to answer this. How do you prioritize Charlotte? So, like for me, and I feel like I did a really good job of mentioning how to handle Dallas last night. So, I'll start with this. Yep. Micic is clearly play number 1. Like he's the best play on Charlotte, in my opinion. Also, I'll just give a little peek behind the paywall. But when we do our tags, right, JBC, if you look at his point guard player pool, he has Micic number 1. From the value perspective, he has Micic number 1, and then he has got 3 other plays behind him as ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and all the rest of the values are fades. Like, that's how strong he thinks these other values are, right? And that's how strong I think Micic is as a value and why I was kind of talking down on some of the OKC values until we kind of mentioned the small forward stuff with Dort. But Micic is clearly play number 1. For me, play number 2, if I'm thinking point per dollar and just all around, I kind of think it's Bridges at 6.3K. Like, I would rather him even over Seth Curry because I just think Seth Curry is a little bit volatile. For third, I probably rank Curry third because he is 3K, right? And it's just so cheap. Fourth, it's probably Nick Richards, mainly because of the center position and just, I mean, there's a lot of good plays at center today. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if you looked at the center position, and I could easily see the winning lineup be Jared Allen and Bam Adebayo, right? Like, I could see that being the winner. That's super contrarian, and it's just a deeper position than I think normal. So I kind of lean that as Nick Richards as my number 4 option. 5, I think it's either – I mean, I like Diabate as like the leverage play that JSU mentioned, but 5 is probably as crazy as it sounds. It's probably crappy Cody Martin or Josh Green, but I don't feel great about those plays, and I'm not dying to get to them. JSU, how do you prioritize Charlotte? If we're talking about just like the value, like if you're talking about like your top like 4 to 5.
I think you did a pretty good job of ranking them. I definitely have Micic 1, Bridges 2. Diabate, I'd probably have 4. Nick Richards, just because of the upside he has, I would have 3. But I wouldn't play Richards and Diabate probably together in this spot. So, I mean, you could, I get. The only problem is there's both center only, so that kind of stinks. But and then I'd probably go Seth Curry 5, Josh Green 6, Cody Martin 7, something like that. But I personally will not be playing Seth Curry. I'm just going to refuse to do it. But
he's a value I can definitely get away from. So we definitely agree on that. Philadelphia, did you talk much about that? I know you mentioned Paul George. You talk a lot about the Philly side or not?
Yeah, I mean, the plays for me are mainly with Joel Embiid in. It's mainly just Joel Embiid, Paul George. I think they're one of the easier teams because, you know, they got a few guys that are priced up because they're playing without Joel Embiid, and now he's back. So it's going to run through those guys plus Maxey. And I think you want one or none. Honestly, I would set a rule, like even if I was 150 and like no more than one of those studs probably. I probably don't want more than like 2 from Philly, like at all. It's the team I'm probably lowest on from like trying to get a bunch of like game stacking side. Like I'd be the lowest on Philly, I think, out of all the teams. Like I'd probably want like 1 or 2 max. Whereas like I could sell myself on 3 from like almost any other team. Like even Cleveland that I don't love, but I could sell myself on 3 Cleveland guys. I don't think it's the winner. I could sell myself on it. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. I tend to agree. And Embiid is probably the best play for sure on Philly. Also, Rob, we're live. We've been live for 57 minutes, and you said only like you're acting like we don't go live for a while, JSU. Is there some reason for this?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Rob was just shocked that we've been talking for 50 minutes and he didn't notice that we were on. I don't know. Maybe he got his if he's not subscribed to the YouTube channel, then Rob, that's on you. But if he subscribed, maybe he didn't notice it. Maybe it came through his computer and he didn't realize it was through. So
I guess to be fair, they thought it was maybe starting at 6, right? So maybe that's what it was. But
yeah, that could have been it too. Rob could have been coming at 6. And been surprised that we started a little early today. It was 3 games, Rob. We started a little early, so
he showed up at 5:56. So he wanted to smash the like and come say hi, and then he got here early and then realized, it's already going on. Which, hey, if you want, you can catch up by listening on a faster speed if you want. So
yeah, there he is. He said 100% was expecting the 6:08 start time. Yeah, it happened. It's the holiday season, Rob. We threw a curveball in, Yeah.
As JSU says, Rob, notice who's not on the show, and it started a little bit early, right?
I mean, it's not rocket science to figure this out, people. Like, there is one guy who slows down almost every stream that he is on. And, he's big. His name starts with a T, and, it ends with a Y, and I think you can figure it out from there. So shout out to him.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious, but
yeah.
All right, JC, let's do you got play of the day for the people that we can draw up and give them a winner?
Yeah. So play of the day, I'm going to give out Diabate as like my cheap guy at
Yeah, I like that.
3,200. He's going to be a guy that I'm a little overexposed to tonight. Um, and more like expensive guy. I do like the idea of going with like a Bam Adebayo in this on this slate, and with the ownership going to Embiid, I think that range is going to kind of get left off a little bit. So I think you're going to get a little lower ownership. I like the spot for him to kind of run through. Maybe the offense runs a little more through him in this spot. So yeah, those are my two guys. Center's a good spot though. I think a lot of my teams are going to be double centers to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good night for the double center position. My guy will be Big Tiffany. That's pretty good. Big Tiffany 44.
That's good.
My guy will be I really like the spot for Bobby Portis. He would be like my I guess chalkier guy if you had me pick one 5.4K. I do think he sees the minutes. We are getting some news on the Bucks. We just got Giannis. He's officially in. Middleton, he will play as well with the illness.
The question, Mangone, is does this Charlotte game blow out? I think that's the whole question of the whole slate. Because I agree with the chat. If you get that game right, however you play it, if you get it right, you're going to win a lot of it. It's just, and this is where I come back to, if you're building just a couple teams, just 2 or 3 teams, build them out that way. Build one out like it's a close game. Build one out like it's a blowout. And build out kind of lineup scripts where it kind of suits that direction, whatever way, or have a little of both, because honestly, odds are probably good that Philly beats them up a little bit here, but there's always that but of if it stays close and these guys all these starting guys are so cheap that they're going to have to get there, or a bunch of them are going to get there. So that's the real question. But if you made me guess, I'd probably lean more blowout, man. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of lean more blowout, and I'll give you another blowout guy on the Hornets as like a contrarian guy. I know our guy Big T one time gave out KJ Simpson. I don't think it's KJ Simpson season. I think it's Isaiah Wong season.
There you go.
He would be the guy. He is definitely the guy that's gaining momentum for them. He's the guy that's been playing good basketball, and if it blows out, I think he's going to be the option. And honestly, I wouldn't be totally surprised if, let's say, Micic struggled and he got in a couple fouls. Well, then they're going to need him at the guard. Like, they need one of these guards to step up, right? He could certainly be one of them. He's good enough on the defensive end where he could even come in for Curry, and it wouldn't totally shock me. And kind of play
the good thing too is you could still play him with Micic, but it's the leverage of fading Micic that's interesting in a blowout. But like it could be a blowout where Micic only plays like 24, 25 minutes, but at his price tag still kind of does enough to be, relevant. But I like the other idea too of just like playing someone like Isaiah Wong and saying it's a blowout. Like I'm going to take 2 or 3 bench guys and then play all these studs in games 2 and 3. Which there's a lot of studs in those games, so it kind of fits.
Yeah, so when we get off the air, I'm going to make some adjustments to some of my projections and make sure I get a little bit, right? I don't need the lock button. I don't need the lock button, but I'll make sure when I do my runs, I get a little bit on my teams. But I think that wraps it up for us, JSU. We got over an hour for 3 games. We talked a lot about basketball. Any final thoughts for the people?
No, if you want more of the content, obviously just sign up. If not, just hit the like button. It's a free show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, promo code still RPS15. If you're new, you want to check it out, 15% off. Holiday months, we got a lot of slates. Football, we're going to have a ton of football slates, smaller slates, but a ton of football slates the next couple weeks. And, obviously the basketball's still rolling. So, yeah, it should be a good time. College football season as well. I know you guys have been posting a bunch in the college football chat. So we got all the sports at Run Pure Sports. Check it out. Hopefully you guys enjoy it if you're already a member. If not, come try it out.
Yeah, I got the 2-game playbook up for the NFL tomorrow. I'm going to make some adjustments to it and add some notes. later on tonight. So be sure to sign up and check that out. Also, subscribe to the channel. So, if we do go out live at a different time, you're not confused like our guy Rob for sure. So, and hey, it's this time of year where shows might pop up. I don't know if anyone's going to pop on and do it.
Yeah, who knows? We might just randomly decide to do a show tomorrow. You never know.
Yeah, and yes, I was going to post that message earlier. So, yeah, happy holidays to you also, Poker MJ 23. But
yes, sir.
that is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the show. For me, Mangone, and JSU, we'll see you guys later.